So we're back from Okeechobee for our first stop of the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit. You know, as you follow along on social media, for the ones that did, you know, we had a kind of a rough start to the tournament. After the first day, we were in 115th place. But had a good comeback the second day, finished up 79th in the tournament. Not what we was hoping for, but blessed to slide in there and get the last check of the tournament and keep our head above water. We definitely want to make that Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit championship up in La Crosse, Wisconsin in August, and you got to be in the top 45 in points to qualify for that. So, you know, we didn't kill ourselves down there, but you know, we're hoping to do better going into Smith in a few weeks. I'm really missing, after today, I'm really missing the warm weather down there. It's cold here, rainy, dreary. After being in Florida for a week in the warm weather, man, it makes you really want to be back down there and miss that warm weather. But I thought I'd just walk you through kind of how my practice went on Okeechobee, and then how the tournament kind of turned out. I think as I go back and look over the tournament, think back on my decisions, I'm seeing more where I can improve on really like reading my practices. I kind of found some areas that turned out to be good areas that I didn't go to first. Several big bags on the first day came from that area, and I chose to go to another area. So really looking at how to read my practices better. You know, as practice started last Monday, you know, I fished some areas that I had been down there in pre-practice, like two or three weeks before official practice started. And kind of what I'd done, my main focus those 2 days was to get down there. I've never been on Okeechobee, so I was really wanted to get down there and like learn how to navigate the lake and how to get into the areas that are notoriously good tournament areas for Okeechobee, where a lot of the tournaments are won, like Harney Pond, the Monkey Box, North Shore, Kings Bar, South Bay, Moonshine Bay. So all those areas, main areas where fish pull in to normally spawn this time of the year. You know, leading up to the tournament, there was a major cold front down there, so I knew going into practice, some fish, after the warm-up was happening, before official practice started, I knew some fish would be starting to migrate into those areas. So that's kind of what I did in pre-practice. So Monday of official practice, I went in some of those areas and just tried to get some bites, you know, to give me some confidence of the areas that I felt like maybe some fish were moving into. You know, Monday, I went into an area late in the day, and I had gotten like 10 or 15 bites, and a couple of those bites felt really good. I was just kind of pitching a Cinco around, throwing a swim worm around, swim jig, frog, you know, just trying to get some bites, and I was able to do that. And I didn't set the hook very much in practice, maybe 3 or 4 times in practice. So I didn't really know what quality I was dealing with, but I just knew that they felt like quality bites. That was on Monday of official practice. So they gave me some confidence going into the second day. So I went to a totally different area of the lake the second day, and it was a little bit tougher day. But towards the end of the day, the weather had really warmed up, and I got into a big area, and I visually saw fish swimming in to the area, and saw, there was hundreds of bass in this area. I mean, you know, that's hard for a lot of people to believe, but there was actually hundreds of bass swimming in this area. I saw like probably 15 or 20 2.5 to 3 pound males, I'm assuming, already set up on beds. They weren't paired up, but I also saw some big females swimming in. So I really thought that area was an area where a big wave of fish were moving in. I don't have a lot of experience on Okeechobee, like I said, so I'm just having to go from what experience I have, what I've studied and read about Okeechobee. So, you know, that was Monday and Tuesday. So we're off on Wednesday for meetings and pictures and all this stuff. So as I think through my practice days and try to make a game plan for Thursday, the first day of the tournament, the two areas that I really thought about was the area that I've got like 10 or 15 flipping bites in, and then the area where I visually saw all the fish swimming in. And you know, if you read history on tournaments on Lake Okeechobee, you know, they always talk about wanting to be in an area where big waves of fish are moving in. And I really thought that area up on the north shore that I found where I visually saw those fish was going to be one of those areas. Like, I was excited. So I chose to go to that area the first day. I was boat number 9. So I tore out across the middle of the lake, across from Clewiston. It was about a 30-minute run over there to it. You know, it's probably the first lake that I've ever been to that I ran across that I couldn't see shore anywhere. Okeechobee's huge. But I was the first person in there. And once I got in there, you know, I had seen in that practice day when I found those fish, I'd seen some other pros in there, and they were looking, and I just assumed that they probably had seen all of those fish setting up on beds too. So I fished in there like 20 minutes before any other pros got in there. Finally, you know, 6 or 7 more pros got in there fishing around, a couple local boats. And I start going and looking kind of where I had saw a lot of those fish swimming, a lot of the beds and stuff. And they were empty. Like, the fish were gone. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand, you know, there's a lot I still have to learn about Okeechobee, but they were gone. I mean, you know, you kind of watch around, see if anybody else is catching fish. Nobody's catching fish in the area. And I mean, I don't understand it. I don't know what happened, why those fish left or whatever, but I ended up like catching like 3 keepers in there. And by 11 o'clock, I'm like, I've got to scramble and do something. I've got like 6.5 or 7 pounds in a live well, you know, with 3 fish, and I know I've got to make an adjustment and move. So I take off and run way back down the lake to the area where I had gotten like 10 or 15 bites and caught a couple of keepers, and I got to noticing in that area there was a lot of big pros in there, and come to find out those guys had been in there all day, and like 6 or 7 of those guys were in the top 20, had high teens bags, you know. So like I said, when you go back and look over the tournament and kind of try to figure out, you know, what you did wrong, what you could do better, you know, if I had to do it again, I would probably go to that area where I got those flipping bites and start. But you know, that's what this game's about. It's about decisions, and then, you know, learning from your mistakes. And I just have to learn how to read my practices better. So that was kind of how the first day went. The second day I decided to go in there and start, and right off the bat I catch one almost 7 pounds. I thought, man, this day's going to be off to a really good start. But it ended up being kind of a little bit tougher day too, and I scrambled around to some areas and finally caught a limit. It weighed 13.5 pounds, which, you know, it bumped me up from 115th the first day to 79th to finish the tournament 79th. So thankful for that 7-pounder. If it wasn't for that fish, you know, I'd be buried, you know, be trying to severely digging my way out, you know, but luckily that's what we did, and kind of kept our head above the water. So like I said, you know, that's how it ended up. You know, Okeechobee was, as far as the tactics go, the techniques was pretty simple. You know, basically what I was doing was pitching a Cinco, swimming an ultraviolet speed worm and a swim jig around, threw a frog around some. I never really got the punch and bite going. I know some guys was catching them like that, but I just never got that going. So I'll go over a few of the setups I had, you know, for those techniques. You know, for the swim worm, you know, I'm just throwing the basic ultraviolet speed worm, Magnum ultraviolet speed worm, throwing a little 1/8 ounce tungsten weight on the nose, and a 4/0 Trocar EWG hook on it, throwing that on 30-pound braid, a 6.6 to 1 reel, and the Megabass Destroyer Valdivia. It's a 7'6" rod. You know, it's got some backbone, got a little bit of a tip to it. Help me, you know, let the fish load up on the worm and really control those fish once I hooked them up. As far as the swim jig goes, you know, just basically throwing a dirty jigs, 3/8 ounce dirty jigs, no jack swim jig with a little swim bait trailer on it, 50-pound braid, throwing it on a Shimano 7 to 1 reel, and a Megabass Levante Diablo Spec R. This Spec R, man, is one of the best all-purpose rods you know I use. I mean, you can use it from top waters to swim jigs to chatterbaits, just a lot of different things. You can use it for a lighter jig. Just a really good rod. And the main deal, the main deal I really was focused was pitching that Senko, and I had 2 different setups for the Senko. You know, if I was pitching the Senko up around like the heavy reeds or thicker cover where fish could get me tangled up, I fished it on a 17-pound fluorocarbon with a Trocar TK130 flipping hook and a little 1/8 ounce tungsten weight, and I threw it on a Megabass Orochi perfect pitch rod. It's got a lot bigger back. It's a 7'2", so I can make little pitches and stuff to those reeds. And I chose fluorocarbon because a lot of guys I know was pitching using braid, and I felt like it gave me an opportunity to get a few more bites than what they were doing, and just throwing that on a Daiwa Tatula 8-1 reel. It's a pretty simple, basic setup. And then some of those fish were spawning out on more open water. Maybe it was a little haygrass twig sticking up, or one lily pad stem, or maybe a patch of eelgrass under the water. And the water, you know, it has to be clear in Florida for fish to really bite. I know they will bite in a little bit dirty water, but they seem to bite better when the water's clear in the areas. And when they were in that more open water stuff, I felt like if I dropped down to a smaller fluorocarbon line, I could get more bites. And I was throwing a 15-pound test fluorocarbon, and for this setup, and a little bit lighter action rod. This is a Megabass Destroyer Deimos and a Daiwa Tatula 7.3 with a Trocar EWG hook and a little 1/8 ounce tungsten weight. So, you know, real simple setups, basic plastics, you know, just the Senkos and the swim worms. So that's kind of like the basic setups I had to catch what fish I caught. This is actually the setup I caught the almost 7-pound fish on. So you don't have to have super heavy line in Florida to land those big fish. You just have to be smart and pick and choose where you're going to use that light line. I definitely wouldn't be like flipping in the heavy cover with it, but anyway, that's kind of the simple setups I had for the tournament. Like I said, we're happy to get out there with a check, happy to get out there with some decent points. We still have a long way to go to get up there in the top 45 in points, but we're going to Smith Lake in a few weeks. Excited about that. Hopefully it'll warm up some and fish will be biting, and we'll have a good tournament and keep climbing that ladder and get up there in the top 45. You know, ultimately would love to win Rookie of the Year, but that's a big challenge. So that's our goals, and make that championship is the second goal, and we're going to work hard at doing it. You know, our tagline is have faith and grind, and we're definitely going to do that. So excited for the next one in 3 weeks. Y'all stay with us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and get notified when we post a video. We'll be putting some more out in the weeks to come, and keeping everyone posted. Thanks for watching.